the Twin Cities' most watched newscast, News 11. With Joan Steffen, Kevin McDowell, Randy Shaver on sports, and meteorologist Dennis Felkin.
You're just off the plane on your way to the Republican convention in New Orleans when you realize this meeting in Cajun country won't be like any other Republican bash in the last 20 years. Good evening, everybody. Kevin McDowell has the night off. One convention goer calls it the greatest party ever as Republicans get ready to throw a bash for George Bush. That story tops tonight's News 11.
Bourbon Street is filled with people having a great time tonight with the business of propelling Bush into the top spot at the White House as tomorrow's priority.
Here's the timeline for Convention Week. It all officially begins tomorrow with an address by President Reagan to the party faithful tomorrow night. Tuesday, a symbolic torch will be passed from Reagan to Bush as the president returns to Washington, D.C. Wednesday, delegates will finalize the party platform. Thursday, Bush plans to announce who his running mate will be and make his acceptance speech. Republican convention organizers say this meeting of the minds must be different than the Democratic convention in Atlanta. Republicans say Bush must lay down his ideas and policies for the future, something they say Michael Dukakis did not do.
Go back and try to set the facts straight. I think in Atlanta we saw a lot of amnesia merchants who want the people to forget what the world was like on January the 20th of 1981 when Ronald Reagan and George Bush took office.
Those experts say Bush needs to gain momentum in New Orleans as the post-Labor Day race for the White House begins. But today the spotlight did not shine on George Bush, but on his boss. This convention is President Reagan's farewell to the party, and today New Orleans pulled out all the stops to welcome him to the place he will say goodbye. News 11's Brenda Butner reports.
The 1988 convention is President Reagan's last hurrah. This week, he passes the party torch to a new standard bearer. And the city that celebrates any excuse for a party tried to make sure the president goes out in style. President Reagan will not top the ticket this year, but his speech made it clear he is on the campaign trail for the GOP.
We Republicans know the truth. That convention in Atlanta was the biggest masquerade since last year's Mardi Gras here in New Orleans.
That's the message he hopes to send to the so-called Reagan Democrats.
In all these ways, the liberal leadership of your party has been saying no to you. And now it's time for you to start saying no to them.
President Reagan makes his only official convention appearance Monday night. After meeting only briefly with Vice President Bush, he is scheduled to depart Tuesday morning. And the Bush campaign hopes the vice president will then seize the spotlight from the man who has played the party's leading role for the past 8 years. Brenda Butner, News 11, New Orleans.
Reagan says he plans to campaign vigorously for Bush after the convention.
Our state delegates are ready to voice their opinions at the convention. Minnesota's 31 delegates spring from 4 different presidential campaigns. During the February caucuses, only 4 of the delegates favored Bush. As for a running mate, a recent poll found that 12 Minnesota delegates favored Congressman Jack Kemp, 5 preferred Senator Robert Dole, and 3 for Transportation Secretary Elizabeth Dole. 3 others leaned toward former UN Ambassador Jeane Kirkpatrick. Back in 1984, Democratic presidential hopeful Walter Mondale chose Geraldine Ferraro as his running mate. But experts say a female running mate for Bush would be a mistake.
The way the Republicans are looking at this is that the risk of putting a woman on the ticket, that is making it look as if it's a desperate effort to get the woman's vote, is probably not worth what they would get in return for it.
Will the gender gap cause a problem for the Bush campaign for president? Many Republicans don't even see it as a problem. In an Associated Press poll, 37% of the Republican delegates believe the gender gap issue isn't a problem. Many say it's just media hype. Many of the delegates also said that Bush does have a credibility problem with women voters, but they say it won't affect the election.
The search continues tonight for 2 men who robbed a Minneapolis drugstore. The Ideal drugstore closed shop and let the employees go after the incident. Police say this is the first time that store has ever been robbed. The suspects got away in a silver Buick Century, and police say it is a stolen car. And police are still on the lookout for 2 men who robbed this Columbia Heights bank yesterday. State and federal officials are looking for 2 white males. Both wore masks during the holdup. White Bear Lake police have a man in custody tonight for the death of a 2.5-year-old boy. The suspect was arrested on Friday. Authorities are withholding details on the case until the man's court appearance tomorrow morning in Ramsey County Court, but police say Corey Davis Tyska died of head injuries on July 22nd.
Fire investigators still don't know why a house went up in smoke. The fire was in a house on Quail Avenue North in Robbinsdale. Firefighters wearing oxygen tanks and masks sprayed water on the hot spots inside the home. One person was inside the building and was alerted to the blaze by a barking dog. The rest of the family was not at home at the time of the fire. Crews used the jaws of life to rescue a victim from a car crash overnight. Police used flares to block the road after the accident on Main and Jefferson Streets in Blaine. One of the cars had flipped over and trapped the victim. The 39-year-old woman is in critical condition at Unity Hospital.
You'll need to put the pedal to the metal if you want to keep up with the drivers in Wisconsin. New figures from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation show that more than a third of all drivers exceed the 65-mile-per-hour speed limit. About two-thirds drive over 55 on urban interstates. But the department says it's better than back before the rural interstate speed limit changed. In 1986, 74% of drivers topped the 55-mile-per-hour mark. A St. Cloud hunter has finally caught his bird months after he started the search. A duck shot in the neck with a dart still lodged in his neck. But as News 11's Christy Arndt of our Midstate Newsroom tells us tonight, this hunting story should have a happy ending for both the hunter and the hunted.
Swimming in a bathtub is a pretty cushy life for a mallard. But for Donald the duck, it also means even better times are on the way. It means the 5-inch dart he took in the neck will finally be removed.
Somebody shot him with a blowgun or a dart gun of some kind. People tell me that he's been down here since about the middle of May like that. And I think it was about the middle of June before I heard about it. And then I've been, like I say, just about every day since trying to get him.
Les Hubble caught Donald yesterday morning after 2 months of staking out the banks of the Mississippi near St. Cloud. Hubble used a special trap he built just for Donald.
As soon as he jumped in, I reached down and pulled that twine and dropped the door on him. And I couldn't believe I got him. Just couldn't believe it.
Donald and his life-saving friend have become great buddies since the capture. Hubble says this is the 3rd duck he's rescued from almost certain death. He's got a soft spot for feathered friends.
I felt sorry for him, and I wanted to catch him and get the dart taken out of it and know that he'll be all right.
Hubble says as soon as Donald's doctor removes the dart and the patient is out of danger, Donald will be allowed to return to the river to, once again, frolic with his friends. In St. Cloud, Christy Arndt, News 11, the Midstate Newsroom.
The DNR has given Les permission to keep Donald until the duck recovers. The patient's appointment is tomorrow morning in St. Cloud, and News 11 will be there to show you how it all works out.
There's still a lot more ahead on News 11.
We'll take you to Sweden, where the Vikings won in front of a home crowd, kind of.
Calls come flooding in to help this woman after a rip-off scam left her with almost nothing.
And it may be too late to help a farm family forced to sell their farm after a devastating fire.
Here at Towsley Ford, we are proud to be the #1 volume Ford dealer in the upper Midwest. Over 32 years and 100,000 Ford cars and trucks delivered. And we believe that we're #1 because we take good care of our customers. We give selection, always over 1,000 cars and trucks in stock. We have a fleet of 125 cars to loan when your car's here for service. As for price, our goal is to price every car and truck from $300 to $800 less than any other dealer for the same exact model. No matter how far away you live, it's worth a trip to Towsley Ford, White Bear Lake.
Introducing 5 new Panacook'n Super Sandwiches, like the new thick and delicious California chicken. Visit Panacook'n during August and register to win airfare for 2 to Amsterdam on Northwest Airlines. Things are changing at Panacook'n.
The best burgers in the business just got better. During August, Wendy's Double with Cheese, 2 quarter-pound beef patties and your choice of fresh toppings is just $1.99. Wendy's Double with Cheese, just $1.99 during August. Wendy's, the best burgers in the business.
unnamed operations officer will get the blame for the U.S. downing of an Iranian jetliner. That story tops Datelines tonight. The Washington Post says a 1,000-page Navy report on the incident puts the blame on an officer of the USS Vincennes. The report does not recommend any disciplinary action. 290 people died when a missile hit the Iranian Airbus. And authorities in Seoul, South Korea clashed with student protesters for a third day today. The riots began after the government banned a student march to the North Korean border for unification talks. Angry neighbors to the university where the riots took place called for an end to the riots.
Northfield St. Olaf Choir is on their way to Korea tonight, hoping those riots don't cause problems for their performance at the Olympic Arts Festival. The singers checked their luggage, got their ticket stamped before they left this morning. A few hugs goodbye, and it was time to leave. And KARE Promotions photographer Dave Unziger will travel with the group, capturing their trip on videotape. He'll have fun. They'll have fun with him.
Lots of fun. Roy Findon here for Dennis Felkin. And you know, Roy, Dew Point has never meant so much to me in my life as it's this summer.
Good, yes, exactly right. It's such a convenient comfort index. If it's in the 60s, sultry, it's kind of uncomfortable. If it gets into the 70s, it's stifling, just tropical, like yesterday.
Yes.
Well, this evening, the dew point has crept up and the wind has quieted down. Dew point gets much higher, it'll approach the don't point. Here, the current, well, let's look at the high for today. We can put all this information together. 85 was the high, 65 overnight. And the current readings include partly cloudy sky with a temperature of 75. The air is calm, no measurable wind. And the dew point of 66 degrees, humidity is 74%. The pressure is rising at 29.93. First thing we were anxious to look at is the producer of today's sunshine. And that's all the clear skies. If we run this forward, which began at sunrise today, we will find that we stayed nice and clear throughout the day. As we get into the evening, we'll notice building over North Dakota some pretty high, cold-looking cloud tops, and they may be generating, in fact, they are generating some pretty strong thunderstorms. A look at our national radar display will confirm that. We'll put that together with the rest of the elements on today's map, and sure enough, some bright thunderstorms are showing up in central North Dakota. In fact, there is a severe thunderstorm watch for the eastern part of North Dakota until midnight tonight. This nice area of high pressure, just got in here strong enough to squash the extremely stifling 70-degree dew point readings a little to the south of us. So for about a day's respite, about 1 day's respite looks like all it will be. The dew points today to the south were in that stifling category, 70s down here. And while they had the 70-degree dew point, they were setting record high temperatures in triple figures, over 100 degrees at Sioux City and at Des Moines and at Waterloo, and even 95 at Madison for a record high reading at all those stifling dew points. And that's going to creep back in this direction. This evening, they're still clinging to a 90-degree reading down at Des Moines. Otherwise, we're mostly in the 70s and 80s, and cool all as usual up by Duluth, 67, and a 69-degree reading at International Falls. Now, what's happening? Well, there is the front that has been there, and tomorrow you can see it's getting ever closer, and then by later tomorrow we'll be right back into it with those high dew points and very, very warm temperatures. In fact, up over 90 degrees probably for tomorrow. Oh, by the way, some showers expected down in Arizona. 107 only at Phoenix. It'll cool off. They set a record there with 113 today. Well, we'll put the specifics of the forecast, dew point it all together for you in just a minute.
Come drive a Mazda.
Come drive a Mazda truck. They're not only the #1 selling import truck in Minnesota, they're also #1 in customer satisfaction for the second straight year. And right now is a great time to get #1, while factory-to-dealer incentives can save you hundreds. So come on.
Come drive a Mazda.
See your Mazda dealer in Richfield, Brooklyn Center, White Bear, St. Paul, and Minnetonka.
Embers. Lunch, dinner, anytime. Tender fish, chicken, and sizzling good meats, each at a great low price. In fact, if you can find it better for less, we want to know about it. Embers. Big taste. Small check.
Big Oldie in Alexandria truly has the best view of two of the area's most historic sites, the Runestone Museum and Fort Alexandria. The newly expanded Runestone Museum features thousands of artifacts, displays, antiques, and of course the Kensington Runestone. Step out of the museum into Fort Alexandria and you'll step back in time to see how the early settlers lived. Visit the old school, church, and general store. See antique buggies, fire engines, and more. Visit the Runestone Museum at Fort Alexandria, located next to Big Oldie in Alexandria.
Greece, Australia, Brazil, People's Republic of China, Czechoslovakia, Egypt, Great Britain, Japan, Mexico, Poland.
For 16 days this summer, the sons and daughters of the world will gather to share the dream.
Of America.
And the flame will burn a little brighter. The world is coming to Seoul.
So we'll have a pretty looking night tonight, and not quite so nice feeling because the air will be calm, the dew point creeping up. The forecast details call for a low temperature tonight to drop into the 60s, 62 to 67, only light and variable winds. Tomorrow's picture, mostly sunny, 88 to 93, dew point creeping up to 70, winds from the southwest. That'll help bring it. Now, Tuesday, even warmer, and chance of some showers. That includes through Thursday, and could be close to a record by Tuesday, and a good chance of some strong thunderstorms by Tuesday, as a matter of fact. Interesting weather week again.
Yes, keep those air conditioners handy. Thank you.
A wonder of nature was open to the public today. Mystery Cave near Spring Green, Minnesota was officially dedicated today as a part of the Forestville State Park. The state of Minnesota bought Mystery Cave in February. The 13-mile cave was discovered in 1937.
Quite a contrast of tunes for music lovers to enjoy tonight around the Twin Cities. You had your choice, cool and calculated symphonies or red-hot jazz. In Edinburgh Park, the Metropolitan Symphony Orchestra performed works by the masters of the classics. If symphonic strings aren't your style, two top jazz men gave it their all at Northrop Auditorium. That's where saxophonist Kenny G and guitarist Stanley Jordan played a double bill.